I hate to tell you this, but wishing for what you want won't work. So what will? Well, watch. Nowadays, everyone talks about manifestation. They're talking about it, they're teaching it. Even popular musicians and celebrities are going on about their manifestations and their vision boards and all these fun things. And so there's this idea that if you just wish for something, if you can just imagine it and visualize it in your mind, you can kind of feel it and sort of be that person that has the thing that they want, that it'll just come to you. Kind of like pulling up your Amazon app and just ordering the things you want and having them delivered. And unfortunately, it's a big, big mistake in how we teach people about manifestation. It's one of the most convoluted, misunderstood things, really, in all of reality at this point. So I want to address some of this today and show you how there's actually a lot more to it. So it's true. You have the power to create your reality, to mold the world that you see, the 3D world in front of you, into whatever you see fit, whatever is aligned with your greatest desires. That is absolutely your right and power as a co-creator of this universe. But there's a lot more to that process than just wishing for it, imagining that you have it, feeling what you would feel if you had the thing that you want, the thing you're trying to manifest. And unfortunately, this is just so glossed over, and it's really just a lost subtlety of the art of manifestation, or the law of attraction, or practical magic, whatever you want to call it. And I see endless people just teaching this, putting it out there, and not really acknowledging everything involved in actually creating what you'd like. Now, I'm sure you've been through this. I have no doubt that you have tried visualizing something. You've tried some of these manifestation practices. So you've done your visualization, you've put things on your vision board, you've written it down in your manifestation journal. And here you are, months, maybe years later, like, oh, where is it? Why hasn't it happened? And that's okay. It's not really your fault. It's not anything that you did wrong, because that part of creation is essential to creation. We have to match the vibrational energy needed to bring this potential of this thing that we want into the 3D world and make it manifest. But there are some other pieces to that as well, and we often let go of them. We lose track of them in the desire and drive to get the things that we want. And so there's really like 4 different phases to the act of manifesting something. There's 4 phases of creation. And that's really a good thing for us, because imagine if you could just think a thought and it would just instantly appear in front of you. Now, that seems great. Like, oh, I can just imagine I have $1 million and it's there. But think of all the things that you imagine. Some of them aren't necessarily good things. I mean, think about all the people that you got angry at who, like, I don't know, cut you off in traffic. I mean, all those people would be dead, wouldn't they? And now realize that there's like 8 or 10 billion of us on the earth, and we all have these thoughts sometimes. So if you really could just think a thing and make it happen instantly, well, unfortunately, I think humanity would have wiped itself out a long time ago. So there's a lag to this, and there's more pieces to it. And it really is in your best interest. And sometimes um, the thing that you wanted, by the time it appears, you realize you didn't want it. You change and evolve in that sort of wait time that happens between essentially placing the order to the universe and it arriving at your table in your life. So, what do we really do with that? Well, we have to get in sync with those parts of creation. And usually there's a piece or two that we really overlook. And so, the first step to really creating the things you want is to really getting in touch with and identifying sort of where you're falling short. And that can be different things in different scenarios, like different things you're creating in your life. So if you're trying to create more abundance in your life, bring more money into your bank account or find a better job, there might be one piece of this that you're missing. And then when it comes to, say, your love life or relationships, it might be a completely different piece. But we've all fallen into one of these traps at some point. And the most common one for most of us is really just taking action. So, we think that we have an idea, thing that we want, and then we just, oh, well, if I have to do a thing, like I have to take action. And if I take the right action, I'll get what I want. And that's a big gap right there. Because there's thinking involved in that, obviously, and there's the action part, but there are some other pieces of it as well. And so one of those big pieces is the feeling piece of it, your emotions. We all have a lot of deep patterns of emotion that guide our lives in ways that we're not really aware of. And most people are not very emotionally intelligent or in tune with that. And so that can be a big piece of it. We all can think and imagine that, well, if I had $1 billion tomorrow, that would be great. I would feel great. But the truth is there's a bunch of ideas and beliefs you have around money and wealth and abundance that under the surface actually would cause you to feel quite bad and resentful about that money if it showed up tomorrow. And we see this all the time. I mean, there are people who spent most of their life relatively poor or in the middle class, and they win the lottery. And, a year, 2 years, 5 years later, they're actually worse off than before they won the lottery. They spent all the money. They picked up a bunch of destructive habits and end up, maybe even worse off than they were before. We've all heard these stories. And that's because they're not really ready to receive all that money. They have these underlying beliefs that they're not aware of, that money is actually evil, or that it's hard to make, or they don't deserve to have it. And so then subconsciously, they make a lot of decisions that sabotage the wealth that they've found. So that's one really simple example. I'm sure if you take some time and reflect, you can think of some examples in your own life where you finally got the thing you wanted and it didn't feel right, and you rejected it in some way, or you gave it up, or you were about to succeed and suddenly something bizarrely happened in your life, or you made some kind of mistake at the last minute that seemed to screw it all up. We get trapped in these patterns, and it can really take a toll on a person over a lifetime. We can really get into a space of feeling like, I don't deserve great things. I can't create the world I want. I'm only meant to be this, I was born into poverty, and that's all I can ever have. And rich people are rich because they're just, there's something unique and special about them, like it's fate. And it's just not. It's just those reinforcing beliefs. So the feeling piece is a big part of it. Another one where we get really lost and where we really miss the idea is the phase of being, which is a difficult one to describe at times because it's really just the state of not doing anything and not really feeling or thinking. It's kind of our true self, the part of us that has come out of creation, out of spirit. So this is the place that you connect to when you do things like meditate or spend time in nature, spend time in quiet and stillness. And what this really is about is that we were born into this life with some greater purpose. There's a greater mission that we have, and it's not always 100% known to us. You know, a lot of that purpose of our life is discovering the purpose and then living that out. And that purpose evolves and changes throughout a lifetime as well. But there's this idea that your soul was born into this body to have a certain experience. And by doing so, you are participating in the great act of creation. That's why we say it's co-creatorship. And so a lot of us don't connect to this. You know, if you are someone who practices things like meditation and you are a more soul-led, spirit-led person, which you probably are if you're watching this video, then you haven't connected to that. And so the things that your desires, the things that you're trying to manifest aren't really in alignment or in attunement with that greater purpose. And so you've run into this in your life if you've, gone through a career. You chose a career in your young adulthood. Maybe you went to college and, you picked a career that you thought you'd enjoy and that certainly would do well for you. But here you are 10 or 15 years later or even longer. And even if you've had success and made some good money for yourself, there's a lot of emptiness there. You don't look forward to your job every day and you find yourself questioning what it's really all about and what's the point. And so that's a great case where your thoughts and feelings certainly seem to align with the things you're doing, but what you picked just wasn't really for your highest good. So that state of being is often a gap that we miss as well. We can get into other traps as well. There's sort of the overachieving piece of it where we're constantly doing things and taking action, but we're not really getting anywhere. And that's another one of those like self-sabotage things where you're doing a lot of things, but you're never doing the thing that actually is going to move the needle forward. And I think that's an important thing to remember too, is like there is action. Like action is required to manifest things. Like I said, if you could just imagine something and it just happened, I think the world would be very chaotic and we might not be here. So be grateful for that, even if you're frustrated that your manifestations aren't showing up right away. The point to all of this is that we really have to get all these things in sync. And I know it sounds complicated and it can seem confusing as you're listening to this, but it's actually pretty simple. There's really just 4 phases to this act of creation that we're all doing. And we're always doing it. We're always creating and manifesting things, whether we're choosing it consciously or not. So I think it's in your best interest to be aware of it and to do this consciously. You're going to get the things you want in due time. And you're going to live a much happier and more prosperous life. So if you're struggling with all of this, if you're doing manifestation practices or whatever it is, and you don't feel like you're getting anywhere and you're really questioning things, drop a comment or send me a DM and let me know. I've created a guide that will help you work through what phases of creation you're strongest in, where you're falling short, where that gap is, and to give you some guidance and a place to head in, a direction to head in once you figure that out. So reach out and let me know if you like that. I think it'll help you get your manifestations back on track.